that we, at the end of the day, be able to capture the data from the form. So on your Visual Studio, you come here and maybe so that we beautify our form. Then we can create some links to the bootstrap files. So this time around, you realize that I don't have my offline downloaded bootstrap files, but I can decide to use a straight bootstrap files from W3 schools. So you just need to have something like this, W3 schools. Then from there you be able to generate the files from Bootstrap 5. You can pick one of these examples, and then from there you can just get an example, copy. Then after copying, you paste here, and then of course it will behave as though you have just linked to the offline files, because as you can see, the file in question here is bootstrap.min.css and bootstrap.bundle.min.js, just the normal way we do the linking. Now after that, remember our ultimate goal is to create a form, but then because we are using bootstrap, we can plan where we will place the form exactly. So think you can just go here, create a division, and then on the division you create a class called container container class, or the container fluid. That you create another div, and as usual you give it class row. Class equals row. Now in the class row, then you cannot declare your divisions. Like I can have like three divisions or maybe two divisions. So let me have the first division and give that class call sm8, and then now the balance will be class call sm4. Class equals call sm4. So this is 8 by 4, giving you a total of 12. So for this one here, I'm just going to ignore, but on the second division, I will create my form inside there. So let's begin. As usual, the form tag. Then inside the form, you start now creating your inputs. So I'll just say input type equals uh, text, and maybe I can introduce an ID to my input. So maybe input one, that's the ID. Then maybe one more input after the break, another one more input whose type is text. Input type equals text, and then I introduce the ID. Of course, now I can say input 2 is the ID. Then from there, after another break, I can have my input whose type is text. No, whose type is submit, sorry. Input type equals submit. Then inside this, of course, maybe I can generate the value of my input, maybe to be something like send. So this is just pure HTML. So to style it up, maybe we need to introduce ourselves to other things like a class code for an input, a class code form control. And maybe we can have a placeholder to just give people some hint of what they are expected to type. Like I can tell people here, type, or maybe enter your name. Then on another input here, I can tell people placeholder equals enter your location of residence, something like that. Then maybe I can introduce class form control to make it a bit good. Class form control. Now on the button, I can introduce a class for buttons, class btn, and maybe btn uh, danger, or maybe btn success, or btn primary, depending on the bootstrap class of a button that you want to use. So what have we achieved so far? we have created a division, and then now on one of the sides of our row, the second column, which is called a same form, we have created a form there. So far nothing much we have achieved. It's just creating a form and maybe giving people some hint of what is expected of them. But remember, we want to use JavaScript so that at least what is being typed here we can capture, and what is being typed on the second part we can also capture. Then someone, that is, if some at the end of the day when someone clicks send. So how do we do that? So here on our somewhere within our project, we need to open script tag and then we close the script tag. So we are going to target our form inputs based on the IDs. So what we're going to say is this. We create a variable and maybe you call it maybe input one. Variable input one equals, you're using document dot get element by ID, and then now we pass the ID of the element that we are targeting, which is in P1. Then now outside we say dot value. So this gives us the value that has been typed in object whose ID is input one. So this is what we are targeting. Then we can also create another variable. We call it maybe variable input two, and then we also capture using document dot get element by ID. We pass the ID that we want to get the input. So the second ID here was in P2. So we just pass the in P2. But outside the bracket, we say dot value. So whatever thing the users are typing inside the inputs, then now we are going to capture. We are going to capture based on this. And then once we capture, we store in a variable code input one or input two. At the end of the day, our target is when somebody clicks submit, we want to capture that and maybe display the content on the screen. So we may want now to have an alert, and then now we display what they have typed. So we can just say something like you, your name is, then, of course, we are doing concatenation. If you are joining this class for the first time, this might be tricky for you. But of course, if you've been following what the previous classes, then it becomes easy. So your name is what was stored here. Then from there we proceed with concatenation, double quotes, and you said you come from. Then again concatenation. Sorry, outside concatenation input two input two. So that is what we have achieved. So you said your name is what was captured, and then you said you come from what we captured here. So that is what we want to achieve at the end of the day when this button is clicked. But for now, you realize that there's no connection between this button and this message here. Like if we run this and then we just click send, you realize that there's no specific integration. If you just run this application right, then it will give you this. So we want this information, this one, to be displayed the moment somebody clicks send, so that our application might not malfunction. So what we are going to do, we are going to put all this content inside a function. So how do we create a function? Let me cut this first. How do we create a function? As usual, function and the keyword function, then the name of the function. Like I can say function and maybe data capture. Data capture now becoming my function. It must be preceded with bracket and then curly brackets. This is the structure of a function. The function name, the name of the function, then bracket opening and closing, and then curly brackets. So the content here now becomes what code do I want it to be executed the moment this function is called. So when do we call this function then? Then now to call this function, we need to call it when this button is clicked. So I'll just come here and say on click. on click. So somewhere in the my button on a click, then we put the function name bracket open and close. So this now tells the browser that only when this button is clicked that this function will be called. Now, when this function is called, then we go capture what was typed there and what was typed down here, and then from there we display this message through an alert. Let us see what we have achieved so far. Open with live server, then as you can see, nothing is being displayed before the button is clicked to send. Now, for this case, then we can now type something like enter your name J Bove, then the location of residence. You can say maybe Nairobi. Nairobi. Then when you click send, then now the message get displayed. Your name is J Bove, and you said you come from Nairobi. Now, sometimes you may find that we have not validated our application. So if you click send, of course, now it is also picking nothing. So what you can do, there are two ways we can do. We can take advantage of HTML validation that is inbuilt and just include something like required. Required equals required. Required equals required. Required equals required. That means anytime somebody clicks before you typing, then we expect this form. When you click the submit button without having to fill anything on your input, then we expect you to get an error. So let us try again. If you just click here, uh, the button has already been executed, although we're also getting a similar the error that we wanted. Yeah, so we can now go ahead and instruct JavaScript not to allow empty content. Yeah, so how do we do that? Inside this function that we have created here, then we can now do our validation first before somebody clicks the submit button. So where is our function? The data capture function. Here it is. So before these things are done, we need to check whether first there is any content. There's any content. So we can say that somewhere like here, we can say if this is empty, if into brackets our input dot value equals to nothing, then now from there uh, we can create an alert. You can say something like you must type both, must enter the name, something like that. Must enter your name, something like that. That means this program will check whether this has some value. If there's nothing, then definitely it will run this error. So again, we can also have something similar to that. Else if into brackets the second object as well, which is my input 2 equals to empty. Then from there, we also have a similar message, an alert telling people you must enter the what was the second thing? The second thing was location. You must enter your location. You must enter your location. Then after that, we say now an else. So an else bracket of opening, then a bracket of closing down here. Remember the brackets must balance at the end of the day. So we have this first bracket here that is closed here. But now you are in brackets here, each must balance. So that is very important. So let us see what we have achieved. So if you click here, then you must enter the name, that's what you get, and then an error. Again, HTML error pops up. When you type something, like maybe let me say J is the name, then again you click without entering the location, then the application again brings the error. must enter your location. Then now from there you need to enter the location, maybe Nairobi. Then after that sent, then now everything gets executed. The name is J, your name is J, and you said you come from Nairobi. So that is what we wanted to achieve today. We have learned several things. One, we've learned how to we've remembered how to create Bootstrap, how to create a form, and of course how you can be able to link up to a function when a button is clicked, and again how you can validate your form using JavaScript, and as well as how you can validate your form using HTML by just using taking advantage of the placeholder attribute. Thank you for watching. Let's meet in the next class. Asante.